The giant space station called Nexus hung in the blackness of space like a shining metal flower. Ships of all shapes and sizes came and went through its many docking bays. Inside, thousands of beings from across the galaxy lived, worked, and traded together. Today, a sleek silver ship was docking at Bay 12. The ship belonged to the Lyrians, a tall, blue-skinned alien race known for their advanced technology and proud ways. As the ship connected to the station, a small crowd of officials waited to greet the important guests. "The ambassador's daughter is on board," whispered one green-skinned alien to another. "I heard she brings a Shadowfang with her." The second alien's eyes widened. "A Shadowfang? Here. They should not allow such a dangerous creature on the station." The airlock door slid open with a soft hiss. First came two tall Lyrian guards in shining armor. Then a young female Lyrian stepped through the door. This was Juri, daughter of Ambassador Gaisu of the Lyrian High Council. Juri was shorter than most Lyrians, with sky-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Her long silver hair was tied back in a simple style, and her large, almond-shaped eyes were deep purple. She wore a simple white jumpsuit with the mark of her family on the shoulder. "Welcome to Nexus Station, honored Juri," said the station's grading officer, bowing low. "We have prepared quarters for you in the diplomatic section." Juri nodded politely. "Thank you. My father will arrive next week. I am here early to set up our living space." Her voice was soft, but clear. That's when everyone noticed the creature that walked by her side. The Shadowfang padded silently next to Juri. It looked like a big cat, about the size of a tiger, but with 6 legs instead of 4. Its fur was deep black, with glowing blue lines running across its body like rivers of light. Its eyes glowed the same blue, with no pupils. A soft mist seemed to float around its paws, and sometimes parts of its body became see-through, as if it wasn't fully in this world. The welcoming crowd stepped back quickly. Several security officers put their hands on their weapons. Juri noticed their fear and placed a hand on the Shadowfang's head. "Mist will not harm anyone unless I am threatened," she said calmly. "She is my guardian and friend." The security chief, a stern-faced man named Daejung, stepped forward. "Honored Juri, we were not told about this. Pet, there are rules about dangerous animals on the station." "Mist is not just an animal," Juri replied. "She is a genetically engineered guardian of the Lyrian royal family." My father cleared her presence with her superiors. Daejung didn't look happy, but he nodded stiffly. "As you say, please keep it under control at all times." As the group moved away from the docking bay and into the main part of the station, people scattered before them. Some ran away in fear, while others pressed against walls to stay as far as possible from the Shadowfang. Juri felt their eyes on her, not with the respect her family usually received, but with fear and distrust. She sighed softly. It was always like this when she traveled. No one understood Mist like she did. As they turned a corner, a man in a technician's uniform was kneeling by an open panel in the wall, fixing some wires. He didn't notice the group approaching until the Shadowfang was almost beside him. When he looked up and saw Mist, he didn't scream or run. Instead, his eyes widened with interest. "Wow," he said, standing up. "I've never seen a creature like that before." He was human, a species new to the galactic community. He had light brown skin, dark eyes, and black hair cut short. The name tag on his uniform read, Taiho. Juri was surprised. The human was looking at Mist with curiosity, not fear. "That's a Shadowfang, isn't it?" Taiho asked. "I read about them in the station's database. They can phase through solid matter, right? That's amazing." Before Juri could answer, Daejung stepped between them. "Back to work, technician. This is not your concern." Taiho bowed respectfully and stepped back, but not before giving Juri a friendly smile. As they walked away, Juri found herself looking back at the human. In a station full of people who feared her pet, he alone had shown interest instead of terror. For the first time since arriving, She felt a little less alone. The next day, Juri decided to explore Nexus Station. Her new home for the next year was huge, with many levels and sections. There were shops, gardens, and meeting places where people from all over the galaxy gathered. Juri wore a simple blue outfit that matched her skin. Mist walked beside her as always. As they moved through the main plaza, people stepped away quickly. Some parents pulled their children back. Shop owners watched nervously as the Shadowfang passed by their stores. "It's always like this," Juri whispered to Mist, placing a hand on the creature's head. "Don't worry about them." Mist made a soft rumbling sound, like a purr but deeper. The glowing blue lines on her black fur pulsed gently. They stopped at a viewing area where large windows looked out into space. Stars shined in the darkness, and ships moved slowly past. Juri stood alone, as others kept their distance. "Beautiful view, isn't it?" Juri turned to see the human technician from yesterday. Taiho stood a few steps away, smiling. "Yes, it is," she said, surprised that someone was talking to her. "I'm Juri." "I'm Taiho," he said with a small bow. "I work in the station's maintenance division. I fix things when they break." Taiho looked down at Mist, who was watching him with glowing blue eyes. "May I?" he asked, pointing to the Shadowfang. Juri was shocked. No one ever asked to come closer to Mist. "You want to touch her?" "If that's okay," Taiho said. "She's amazing." "Be careful," Juri warned. "Mist doesn't usually like strangers." Taiho moved slowly, kneeling down a short distance from the Shadowfang. He held out his hand, palm down, and waited. Mist tilted her head, looking at the human with curiosity. Then, to Juri's surprise, the Shadowfang moved forward and sniffed Taiho's hand. "Hello there," Taiho said softly. "Aren't you a beautiful one?" Mist made her rumbling purr sound again. "She likes you," Juri said with wonder in her voice. "That's very unusual." Taiho smiled. "I grew up on a farm on Earth. We had all kinds of animals. My mother always said I had a way with them." Just then, a loud noise came from a nearby shop. A machine had fallen over, making a crashing sound. Mist jumped in surprise, and suddenly her body turned misty and transparent. Before Juri could stop her, Mist ran straight through a solid wall and disappeared. "Oh no," Juri said. "She gets scared by loud noises." People around them began shouting. "The monster is loose. Call security." Juri looked panicked. "I need to find her before security does. They might hurt her if they think she's dangerous." "I'll help you," Taiho said quickly. "Which way would she go?" "She likes quiet, dark places when she's scared." Taiho thought for a moment. "The maintenance tunnels. They run behind all these shops. Follow me." They hurried to a small door marked Staff Only. Taiho used his worker's card to open it. Inside was a narrow passage with dim lights. "These tunnels connect the whole station," he explained as they walked quickly. "Not many people come here." They heard a sound ahead, the familiar rumbling purr. In a small corner where two tunnels met, Mist was curled up, her body still partly see-through. When she saw Juri, the Shadowfang became solid again. "There you are," Juri said with relief, kneeling beside her pet. "You scared me." "She was just frightened," Taiho said, kneeling down too, "just like any animal would be." Juri looked at him with surprise. "Most people think Shadowfangs are monsters." Taiho shook his head. "On Earth, we have big cats called tigers and lions. They can be dangerous, but they're not monsters. They're just animals following their nature." He reached out slowly and stroked Mist's back. The Shadowfang stretched like a cat enjoying attention. "How do you know so much about handling dangerous creatures?" Juri asked. Taiho smiled. "Humans evolved alongside predators on Earth. We learned to understand them to survive. It's part of who we are." Suddenly, they heard voices and footsteps in the tunnel. "Security is coming," Taiho whispered. "We should go back before they find us here." Juri nodded, feeling grateful. Thank you for helping us. As they led Mist back toward the main areas, Juri realized something important. In a station full of advanced aliens who feared her pet, this human from a young world was the only one who understood. And for reasons she couldn't explain, that made her heart beat a little faster. 3 days after the incident in the shopping area, Juri was called to the security office. She walked through the station with Mist at her side, noticing how people still moved away from them. When she entered the office, Security Chief Dae-jung was waiting with a stern face. His desk was neat and clean, with screens showing different parts of the station. "Honored Juri," he said with a small bow, "we need to talk about your pet." Juri sat in the chair across from him. Mist settled at her feet. "What about Mist?" she asked. Dae-jung touched a screen, and a video played. It showed Mist running through a wall in the shopping area. Then it showed another video of Mist appearing in a food storage room, startling the workers there. "Your Shadowfang can go anywhere on this station," Dae-jung said. "Through walls, into secure areas, near dangerous equipment. This is a serious security problem." "Mist would never hurt anyone," Juri said. "Maybe not on purpose," Dae-jung replied. "But what if she goes into the reactor area, or the life support systems? She could cause damage without meaning to." He leaned forward. "I'm sorry, but I must give you a choice. Either keep your Shadowfang in your quarters at all times, or leave the station." Juri felt her face grow hot with anger. "My father is coming next week. He will not be happy about this." "Your father must follow station rules too," Dae-jung said firmly. As Juri left the security office, she felt both angry and sad. Keeping Mist locked up would be cruel. The Shadowfang needed to move and explore. She was so lost in thought that she didn't notice Taiho until he called her name. "Juri, I was looking for you," he said, jogging up to her. Then he saw her face. "What's wrong?" She told him about the meeting with Dae-jung. "That's not fair," Taiho said when she finished. "Mist didn't hurt anyone." "What can I do?" Juri asked. "I can't keep her locked up all the time." Taiho thought for a moment. "Maybe there's another way. Can you meet me after my work shift? I have an idea." Later that day, they met in a quiet corner of the station's garden area. It was beautiful there, with plants from many different worlds growing together. Soft lights made it look like sunset. "I've been thinking about your problem," Taiho said. He pulled out a small device from his pocket. "This is a prototype I've been working on. It creates a special energy field." "What does it do?" Juri asked. "It might be able to stop Mist from phasing through walls," he explained. "Not by hurting her, but by creating a field that interacts with her unique biology." Juri looked doubtful. Lyrian scientists have tried to make devices like that. They never worked well. "Human technology is different," Taiho said. "We think about problems in our own way. Can I try?" Juri hesitated, then nodded. Taiho knelt down beside Mist, who watched him with her glowing eyes. "This won't hurt," he said softly to the Shadowfang, as he attached the small device to her collar. He pressed a button, and the device glowed with a gentle blue light. "Now we test it," he said. "Can you ask her to try phasing?" Juri spoke a soft command in her native language. Mist stood up and tried to walk through a nearby bench. But instead of passing through, she bumped into it like a normal animal would. "It works," Juri said with surprise. "It won't stop her from moving normally," Taiho explained, "but it prevents her from going through solid objects." Juri looked at Taiho with new respect. "This is amazing. Why would you help us like this?" Taiho smiled. "Because I understand what it's like to be judged unfairly. Humans are new to the galactic community. Many species think we're primitive and dangerous." As they talked, Juri felt comfortable enough to share a secret. "There's something about Mist you should know," she said quietly. "She's not just a pet. Shadowfangs are created to protect important Lyrian families. They're much smarter than people think." Mist looked up at Taiho as if understanding the conversation. I believe you, Taiho said. I've seen how she watches things, how she understands. Just then, Mist's ears perked up. She turned toward a thick group of plants nearby and growled softly. What's wrong? Taiho asked. She senses something, Juri whispered. Someone is watching us. Taiho stood up slowly, moving in front of Juri protectively. Who's there? He called out. There was a rustle of leaves, and then footsteps running away. This isn't good, Juri said. Someone was spying on us. But who? Taiho wondered. And why? Over the next week, Juri and Taiho spent more time together. With Taiho's device on Mist's collar, the Shadowfang could move around the station without causing problems. She couldn't go through walls anymore, but she seemed happy to be able to walk freely without everyone being afraid. Well, almost everyone. Most people still kept their distance, but they were less scared now that Mist couldn't suddenly appear anywhere. Today, Taiho was showing Juri a special place on the station. They walked down a long corridor until they reached a small door marked Observatory. Most people don't know about this place, Taiho said as he opened the door with his worker's card. Inside was a small round room with a glass dome ceiling. Above them, the stars shined brightly, with no lights to dim their glow. It's beautiful, Juri whispered. Mist looked up too, her glowing blue eyes reflecting the starlight. They sat on a bench in the center of the room. Mist curled up at their feet. Tell me about your world, Juri said. Earth sounds so different from Lyria. Taiho smiled. Earth is wild compared to most advanced planets. We still have huge forests, deep oceans, and animals of all kinds. Some are dangerous, but they're all part of our home. He showed her pictures on his small tablet. Mountains covered in snow, beaches with blue water, forests with tall trees. My family lives here, he said, pointing to a green area with many small buildings. It's a place called Korea. We farm the land and keep animals. It looks so alive, Juri said. Lyria is mostly cities now. The wild places were changed long ago. Do you miss home? Taiho asked. Juri thought for a moment. Sometimes, but I also feel trapped there. Everyone knows me as Ambassador Gaisu's daughter. They expect me to be perfect, to follow all the rules. And you don't want to just follow rules, Taiho said with a smile. No, she laughed. That's why I came here early, before my father, to have some time to myself. As they talked, Juri realized how easy it was to speak with Taiho. He listened without judging. He asked questions because he really wanted to know the answers. What about you? She asked. Why did you come to Nexus Station? Humans are new to space travel, he explained. We're trying to learn, to prove we belong with the advanced races. I wanted to see the galaxy, to learn things I could take back home. While they were talking, Mist suddenly stood up. The Shadowfang's ears moved forward, and she made a low sound in her throat. The door opened, and 3 Lyrians entered. They were tall with dark blue skin, wearing the formal clothes of government officials. Honored Juri, said the oldest one with a bow. We've been looking for you. Juri stood up quickly. Advisor Hangiel, I didn't know you were on the station. We arrived early to prepare for your father's visit, Hangiel said. His eyes moved to Taiho, and his face showed disapproval. We did not expect to find you here, with a human. Taiho stood up and bowed respectfully. I was just showing Juri the observatory. Hangiel ignored him, speaking to Juri in their language. This is not appropriate. Your father would not approve of you spending time with a primitive species. Juri felt her face grow hot with embarrassment and anger. She replied in the same language. Humans are part of the Galactic Alliance now, and Taiho is my friend. Friend, Hangadel said with surprise. You are the daughter of Ambassador Gaisu. You must be careful about the company you keep. He switched back to the common language. Come, honored Juri. We have matters to discuss before your father arrives tomorrow. Ju-Rui looked at Taiho with apology in her eyes. I have to go. I understand, Taiho said quietly. As she walked out with the Lyrian officials, Mist looked back at Taiho. For a moment, the Shadowfang's eyes seemed sad. Alone in the observatory, Taiho sighed. He knew things were changing. Ambassador Gaisu was coming tomorrow. Ju-Rui was an important person in Lyrian society, and he was just a human technician. But somehow, when they were together, none of that had seemed to matter. The next day, the station was busy with preparations for Ambassador Gaisu's arrival. Workers cleaned the main halls, security guards checked every corner, and officials rushed to make sure everything was perfect. Ju-Rui stood in the docking bay with Advisor Hangul and the other Lyrian officials. Mist sat quietly beside her, the special collar still working to keep her from phasing through walls. Ju-Rui had not seen Taiho since their meeting in the observatory. She had wanted to find him, to explain, but her time had been filled with meetings and preparations. Your father's ship is approaching, Hangul informed her. Remember your position, honored Ju-Rui. Many important people will be watching. Ju-Rui nodded, her face showing no emotion even though inside she felt nervous and a little sad. The large Lyrian diplomatic ship docked smoothly. When the doors opened, Ambassador Gaisu walked out. He was tall, even for a Lyrian, with dark blue skin and silver hair streaked with black. His face was stern, but his eyes softened when he saw his daughter. Father, Ju-Rui said with a formal bow. Daughter, he replied, placing a hand on her shoulder. You look well. And Mist too. He patted the Shadowfang's head lightly. Behind Ambassador Gaisu came more officials, guards, and assistants. The docking bay was crowded with important people from many worlds who had come to welcome him. Security Chief Dajong approached and bowed. Welcome to Nexus Station, Ambassador. We have arranged a reception in the main hall. As they walked from the docking bay, Ju-Rui noticed something strange. There were fewer security guards than she expected for such an important event, and some of the station workers she passed looked nervous, avoiding eye contact. In the main hall, a large space had been prepared with food and drinks from many worlds. Representatives from different species gathered in small groups, talking quietly. Music played softly in the background. Ambassador Gaisu moved through the crowd, greeting people and having short conversations. Ju-Rui followed behind him with Mist at her side. Then she saw Taiho. He was near one of the service doors, wearing a nicer uniform than his usual work clothes. He caught her eye and gave a small nod. Ju-Rui wanted to go to him, but she couldn't leave her father's side. She watched as Taiho spoke to another worker, pointing at something on the ceiling. He seemed concerned. Suddenly, Mist became alert. The Shadowfang's ears perked up, and the glowing lines on her body pulsed faster. She made a low growling sound. What is it? Ju-Rui whispered, kneeling beside her pet. At that moment, the lights in the hall flickered and went out. Emergency lights came on, bathing everything in a dim red glow. Then a loud explosion shook the room. People screamed and ran in different directions. Ju-Rui heard her father's voice calling for his guards. Ju-Rui. It was Taiho, pushing through the panicked crowd to reach her. We need to move. This way. What's happening? She asked as he grabbed her hand. I noticed some unusual power readings earlier, he explained quickly. Then I saw people in worker uniforms I didn't recognize. Something is very wrong. Another explosion rocked the station, closer this time. Part of the ceiling fell in, blocking the main entrance. They're targeting the hall, Taiho said. Someone is attacking the ambassadors. Mist growled and pushed against Ju-Rui's legs, urging her toward a side door where few people were going. My father, Ju-Rui said, looking back. She couldn't see Ambassador Gaisu in the chaos. His guards will protect him, Taiho assured her. Right now, we need to get you to safety. As they reached the door, 3 figures dressed in station worker uniforms appeared, blocking their path. They had weapons in their hands. "There she is," one of them said. "The ambassador's daughter." Mist stepped in front of Juri, her body tense and ready to attack. The glowing lines on her body became brighter. Taiho moved beside the Shadowfang, his face determined. "Stay behind me," he told Juri. The attackers raised their weapons, and Juri realized with horror that they were not trying to escape the chaos. They had caused it. The three attackers moved closer, weapons pointed at Juri. "Don't move," one of them ordered. He had green skin with small scales and yellow eyes. "We just want the ambassador's daughter. No one else needs to get hurt." Taiho stood his ground. "Why are you doing this?" "The Galactic Alliance must be stopped," the attacker said. "Some species don't deserve to join. Like you humans." Mist growled, the sound deeper and more threatening than Juri had ever heard before. The Shadowfang's muscles tensed, ready to spring. "Your pet can't help you," another attacker said. "We know about the device on its collar. It can't go through walls now." Taiho glanced at Juri. In that quick look, she understood what he was thinking. The attackers knew about Mist's collar. They had been watching them. Suddenly, Taiho dropped to one knee and reached for Mist's collar. With a quick movement, he pressed the small button on the device. "What are you doing?" the lead attacker shouted, raising his weapon. The device on Mist's collar stopped glowing and fell off. Immediately, the Shadowfang's body began to shimmer, parts of it turning misty and transparent. "Mist, protect," Juri commanded in her language. What happened next was so fast that Juri could barely follow it. Mist became almost completely transparent and lunged forward. She passed right through the first attacker, who screamed as the cold energy of the Shadowfang's phasing body touched him. He fell to his knees, shivering. The other attackers fired their weapons, but the energy blasts passed through Mist's ghostly form. The Shadowfang turned solid just long enough to knock the second attacker down, then phased again before the third could hit her. Taiho used this moment to grab Juri's hand. "This way," he said, pulling her toward a small maintenance door nearby. "Mist can handle them, but more will come." They ran through the door into a narrow service corridor. Behind them, they could hear shouts and the sounds of Mist attacking. "Will she be okay?" Juri asked as they ran. "She'll find us," Taiho said confidently. "She can track you anywhere, right?" Juri nodded. Shadowfangs were bonded to their owners and could always find them. They moved quickly through the service corridors. These were Taiho's domain, the hidden pathways that the station's workers used to keep everything running. He knew every turn, every shortcut. "Where are we going?" Juri asked. "Communications center," Taiho explained. "We need to warn security about what's happening. Something is wrong. There should have been more guards at the reception." As they turned a corner, they almost ran into two more attackers. These were different species, one tall with 4 arms, the other short with thick armor-like skin. Taiho reacted instantly. He pushed Juri behind him and picked up a metal pipe from a stack of repair supplies on the wall. When the first attacker lunged at them, Taiho swung the pipe with surprising skill, hitting the attacker's arm and making him drop his weapon. "Humans really are fighters," the second attacker said with surprise. "We had to be," Taiho replied, circling to keep both attackers in view. "Our world wasn't peaceful like yours." The 4-armed attacker tried to grab Taiho, but the human moved with unexpected speed. He ducked under the arms and hit the attacker in the chest, knocking him back. Juri had never seen anyone move like that. Lyrians were not fighters. They had evolved past the need for physical combat thousands of years ago. But Taiho moved like he had been trained for this, his body reacting without hesitation. Just as the second attacker was about to join the fight, a misty form appeared through the wall. Mist had found them, just as Taiho had predicted. The Shadowfang became solid and tackled the armored attacker to the ground. "Now," Taiho shouted, grabbing Juri's hand again. They ran past the attackers, leaving Mist to handle them. The Shadowfang would follow when she was done. As they ran, Juri looked at Taiho with new eyes. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" "Earth has many different fighting styles," he explained. "My grandfather taught me. He said we should always be ready to protect what matters." Juri felt something warm in her chest at his words. In that moment, she realized that she had never felt safer than she did with this human by her side. Behind them, Mist let out a victorious growl. Taiho and Juri reached a small control room after running through more service corridors. Mist caught up with them, her body returning to normal after phasing through several walls to find them. "This is a backup communication center," Taiho explained, quickly working at the control panel. "We can send a message to station security from here." The screens in the room showed different parts of the station. Many areas were dark or filled with smoke. People were running, looking for safety. "Look," Juri pointed to one screen. "That's the main security office." The image showed Security Chief Daejung and his officers trapped in their office. Strange devices on the doors glowed with red light. "They're locked in," Taiho said. "That's why there weren't enough guards at the reception. Someone planned this very carefully." He pressed buttons on the panel, trying to contact someone who could help. "This is Technician Taiho. Can anyone hear me? The station is under attack." "Repeat. The station is under attack." Static answered him. Then a voice broke through. "Taiho. This is Jun Seo in engineering. What's happening?" "Attackers have hit the diplomatic reception and locked security in their office," Taiho explained quickly. "They seem to be targeting the ambassadors." "We're locked down in engineering," Jun Seo replied. "Strange energy fields are blocking the main doors throughout the station." Juri stepped closer to the screen. "What about my father, Ambassador Gaisu?" There was a pause before Jun Seo answered. "Several ambassadors were taken to the council chamber. The attackers are holding them there." Taiho looked at the station map on another screen. "The council chamber is 3 levels up from here. We could reach it through the maintenance shafts." "Are you crazy?" Jun Seo's voice came through the speaker. "There are armed attackers everywhere." "We have to try," Juri said firmly. "My father is there." Taiho nodded. "Jun Seo, can you help the security team get out of their office?" "We'll try," Jun Seo promised. "Be careful." They left the communications room and moved carefully through the corridors. Mist walked ahead of them, her senses sharper than theirs. Whenever danger was near, she would stop and growl softly. As they climbed through a maintenance shaft toward the council chamber level, Juri asked the question that had been on her mind. "Why are you helping me, Taiho? You could find a safe place to hide until this is over." Taiho paused on the ladder and looked down at her. "Because it's the right thing to do." And he hesitated. "Because I care about you." Before Juri could respond, Mist made a strange sound. Not a growl, but a kind of chirp that Juri had never heard before. They reached the top of the shaft and found themselves in a service corridor near the council chamber. As they moved forward, they heard voices ahead. Taiho held up his hand, signaling Juri to stop. He peeked around the corner, then pulled back quickly. 4 guards outside the chamber doors," he whispered. "They have heavy weapons. We can't fight them," Juri said. Mist pushed forward between them, looking at Juri with her glowing blue eyes. The Shadowfang made the strange chirping sound again. "What is she doing?" Taiho asked. "I don't know," Juri said. "I've never seen her act like this before." Mist turned her gaze to Taiho, and something remarkable happened. The glowing blue lines on her body pulsed, and a similar blue light appeared briefly in Taiho's eyes. "Whoa," he said, touching his head. "I can feel her in my mind." Juri stared in shock. "That's impossible. Shadowfangs only bond with Lyrians. They can't connect with other species." "Well, this one just did," Taiho said with wonder in his voice. "She's showing me a plan." He looked at Juri. "Mist can get into the council chamber by phasing through the walls. She can see what's happening inside and come back to tell us. But how will she tell us? Juri asked. Taiho touched his temple. Through me. Somehow, we're connected now. This has never happened before, Juri whispered. Not in all our history. Mist looked at both of them, then turned and ran toward the wall. Her body shimmered and became transparent. She passed through the solid wall like it was air. She'll be back soon, Taiho said, his eyes still showing traces of blue light. She's going to help us save your father. Juri looked at Taiho with new understanding. Somehow, this human had connected with her Shadowfang in a way no non-Lyrian ever had. And in that moment, she knew that what she felt for him was more than friendship. It was love. Jisoo, Yunji, and her loyal pet Tanmin had done it. They had worked together and used their unique skills to stop the aliens that threatened to destroy Earth. Jisoo was proud of how brave and clever Yunji had been, and he was amazed by Tanmin's strength and power. The beast that everyone had once feared had become a hero. As the world celebrated, Jisoo held Yunji close. The challenges they faced had only made their love stronger. He looked into her eyes and smiled. We make a pretty good team, don't we? Yunji smiled back. The best team, she said. Word spread quickly about what they had done. Soon, the whole school was talking about the alien girl, her human boyfriend, and her incredible pet. Students who had once run away in terror now came up to thank them. Teachers who had once looked at Tamin with fear now praised him. Yunji couldn't believe the change. For the first time, she felt truly accepted and appreciated on Earth, and it was all thanks to Jisoo. His kindness and courage had changed everything. As the days passed, something else started to change too. More and more aliens began to visit Earth, but instead of fear, they were greeted with curiosity and warmth. People were eager to learn about other species and make new friends. Earth became known across the galaxy as a place of acceptance and unity, a model for how different beings could live and work together in harmony. And it had all started with an alien girl, a human boy, and a misunderstood pet. Jisoo and Yunji knew their love had been the spark, a love that broke barriers and brought worlds together. Hand in hand, with Tamin by their side, they looked to the stars, ready for whatever new adventure came next. The end.